Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal, Kia ora, and good afternoon, everyone. What an absolute honour it is to stand on this stage to inaugurate this august dialogue with none other than the Honourable Prime Minister Modi. My good friend, can I say thank you so much for generously welcoming me to India and for our very warm discussions that we had this morning. I'm a great admirer of your extraordinary achievements as Prime Minister, as you know. In the almost 11 years that you've occupied the Prime Minister's office, you have weathered the COVID storm and still managed to expand India's economy by 50%. You have lifted 250 million of your countrymen out of poverty and eliminated extreme poverty. And today, India is at the leading edge of technology with massive innovative potential. You were the first country to land on the moon's south pole, and in the process drawing the world's attention to India's extraordinary technological dominant side in cricket's white ball competitions, most recently winning the Champions Trophy last week in Dubai against my men in black. Yes. And breaking many, many New Zealanders' hearts in the process, including mine, but I will be the bigger person and just say congratulations. Among this catalogue of achievements is the reason that we gather today, the Raisina Dialogue, a forum that provides a moment every year for thought leaders from across the world to focus their collective minds on the contemporary strategic challenges being navigated right here in the Indian Ocean. And I applaud Dr. Jaishankar and Samir Saran for the intellectual leadership that they have shown driving this dialogue over the past 10 years. It has grown into a hugely influential forum. And look no further than the luminaries that you attract. 6 former heads of government and ministers from over 30 countries and representation from so many more here today. And I just hope that my remarks today add to the debate in some small way. Ladies and gentlemen, it is more than 200 years since Indians and New Zealanders began living side by side. At the beginning of the 19th century, well before we became a nation, Indian sailors jumped ship in New Zealand, with some meeting up with locals and marrying into our indigenous Māori tribes. And a few years later, Māori traders began travelling to Kolkata to sell tree trunks used in sailing, an exchange that echoes down the ages. And just as they were 200 years ago, Kiwi Indians today are fully integrated into our multicultural society. New Zealanders of Indian heritage comprise 11% of the people living in Auckland, our biggest city. And I brought with me to New Delhi a selection of the Kiwi Indian community leaders, members of parliament, captains of industry, yes, professional cricketers, and even an online influencer who has revolutionised investment for women the world over. In short, a selection of Kiwi Indians who get up each and every single morning to make New Zealand a better place to live. And our trade has diversified considerably from wood thanks to the increased sophistication of your economy. India today is a critical source of pharmaceuticals and machinery for us, while we are a great tourism and education destination for you. And India has become an ever more significant feature of our society. And yet while there has much that has been developed and changed, there has been something missing at the core of our relationship. With a country as consequential as India, we need rich political interaction, engaged militaries, strong economic architecture, and connections that support a diaspora that bridges between our two great nations. Prime Minister Modi and I sat down today and we charted out the future of our two countries' relationship, a future that builds from where we have been and one that is wholly more ambitious about what we will do together in the future. We agreed to our defence forces building greater strategic trust with one another while deploying together and training together more. We want our scientists collaborating on global challenges like climate change and on commercial opportunities like space. We are supporting our businesses to improve air links and build primary sector cooperation. We will facilitate students and young professionals and tourists to move between our two countries. And we've instructed our trade negotiators to get on and negotiate a comprehensive free trade agreement between our two great nations. A comprehensive agenda to underpin a comprehensive relationship. And as we both look to the future, the opportunity for both of our governments is to sustain that momentum, not only to follow through on the commitments that we have made to one another, but to proactively build on that platform by exploring new opportunities and creating new architecture. To ensure that we are creating strategic trust and commercial connection between two countries at the bookends of our wider Indo-Pacific region. Ladies and gentlemen, it is to the Indo-Pacific that I now turn. And there are many reasons to be excited about our region, and I want to single out the two biggest opportunities. First, India and New Zealand are fortunate enough to live in the world's most economically dynamic region. The Indo-Pacific will represent 2/3 of global economic growth over the coming years. And by 2030, it will be home to 2/3 of the world's middle-class consumers. And India itself lies at the heart of this exciting economic future. And it's easy to focus on the troubles the world faces, but it's worth reflecting for a moment on what economic development at this scale means. Here in India, you've gone from only the very few in rural areas having a water or power connection to almost everyone. And that means that people have better health and education outcomes, and that in turn creates hope and optimism about the future for individuals and their families. Replicated across literally hundreds of millions of people, that process of development generates dynamic economies, growth that offers massive opportunities for every country in the Indo-Pacific region and the families and the individuals within them. Now, the second big opportunity is technological change. We are on the cusp of a transformation of our economies and societies in a way that we can barely now imagine. I'm talking about artificial intelligence, which is within reach of achieving the cognitive powers of a human being. But I'm also thinking of a range of other technologies, quantum, biotech, advanced manufacturing, that are going to have profound impacts on our economies. And it has felt like this technological transformation has been long heralded, but never quite arrived. Well, it seems to me that a series of innovations, the always online world, big data, powerful computing, machine learning, accumulating in ways that are going to tip over into a dislocation that is new and altogether different. The game is about to change because we are on the cusp of an explosion in the application of AI, a technology that will have an impact across the whole economy, not just in one or two sectors, a technology that will transform the way that we work, the way that we study, and the way that we entertain ourselves, a technology that will force governments to think in entirely different ways about how they deliver public services and secure. And certainly this presents risks that will need to be managed. For example, militaries are already using AI, which means the international community is going to need to develop new norms about how this is done in a way that ensures compliance with the rules of war and also ensures human response. But my message is that while we need to manage that change, we cannot allow ourselves to be paralysed by the risks. For those who believe disruption and dislocation, the opportunities are there. The citizens, the companies and the countries that embrace the coming change will be the ones that reap the dividends. There's also no doubt that there are fundamental trend lines in the Indo-Pacific that present geostrategic risks to both growth and prosperity. And these have long-term drivers that are not going away and have been amplified by recent events. Past assumptions that underpinned the previous generation's geopolitical calculations are being totally upended. A fortnight ago, the Singaporean Foreign Minister, Vivian Balakrishnan, put this change very eloquently when he said, "The world is now shifting from unipolarity to multipolarity, from free trade to protectionism, from multilateralism to unilateralism, from globalization to hypernationalism, from openness to xenophobia, and from optimism to anxiety." This is a global change, not isolated to one region. And certainly though we live today in an Indo-Pacific navigating contest and rivalry with a period of strategic uncertainty, I think there are three big shifts that make for challenging times for all of us ahead. The first is that we are seeing rules giving way to power. Previously, we could count on countries respecting the UN Charter, the law of the sea, and world trade rules. That sadly cannot be assumed in an age of sharper competition. And instead, we risk dangerous miscalculation at flashpoints, and these range from the militarisation of disputed reefs to dangerous air movements, from land border incursions to breakout nuclear capabilities. And of course, it's not just flashpoints, but a slow shift in Indo-Pacific realities that